Hello, everyone, and welcome to this meeting of the Solution Club at the beginning of the new world. We've been chatting it up here a little bit and happy to start recording. I've got some requests to give kind of a little synthesis or synopsis of some of the stuff that we've been discussing, and also share about where I'm coming from and where I'm at, because I've sort of been going through my own cycles and process and whatnot. And before I get into those topics and related discussions, would anyone like to either say hello or give a little update or intro or anything of the sort, you know, in like 1 to 3 minutes-ish, but without a real time cap? Would anyone like to share anything at all before, as we're getting rolling here with the recording?
I'm curious about how each of us has responded or been affected by the coronavirus, and what kind of thoughts you've had about how it might actually be useful in terms of, one mind or one way of addressing the same issues that we're trying to address with climate change. So I'm just curious what other people have been thinking about with regard to that.
Yeah. Well, I've got a bunch of thoughts, but I'm going to let others share first. So I'm going to go on mute. And by the way, silence, there's nothing wrong with silence. That's a beautiful thing, actually. So I'll go on mute. I'd love to hear from whoever wants to share.
Well, I'll jump in here and say that I certainly think it's calling people's attention to, different nations, groups of people's level of preparation or capacity, however you want to put that. And it's a test, and I think it's ultimately could be very healthy in the long run, because the pressure will mean developing better infrastructure and bringing more consciousness to, I would say large-scale issues in general, like climate change. I think especially I probably shouldn't say too much on it, but it seems like the United States could have been far more prepared for this, and there's a popular talk from Bill Gates in 2015 where he warned about basically this happening, and there's some drama around, well, it looks like nobody paid attention to him 5 years ago, and of course now he's been on a few broadcasts kind of on there as this expert, and anyway, so I think it's definitely calling us to really look at ourselves and ask, well, what are we prepared for? How are we supporting ourselves and each other? So in that way, I think it's totally related to the climate change issue.
Well, I'll just add that Yeah, I agree with what you're saying, Nolan. And kind of my perspective on the matter is that the coronavirus is kind of waking people up to just our natural interdependence, which I really like, because in this situation, it's not one side pitted against the other. It's all of us in this sort of struggle against this ambivalent virus, this virus that doesn't really have any hard feelings towards humanity, and but it could very easily throw us off our game and in a really big way. So I feel like this is kind of waking people up to the interdependence of all of us, which I think is ultimately the direction that the human consciousness needs to go, is recognizing that. Like for me, I've just, when this all started to happen and the grocery stores were starting to get kind of plundered, I just started thinking about like the supply line and like how long would it take for us to like run out of food if the supply line fell apart. And I'm just like looking at the backyard, like how much food can we grow from this backyard? Like if we start now and like we're able to harvest in several months. And I know that's where my mind goes. And a bunch of other people have started their own little backyard gardens. And I don't know, I think that's the kind of positive thinking that can come out of a situation like this. Is it's kind of a little bit of a wake-up call for us to get organized, because we have like this massive capacity to organize that I just don't think we we don't max it out. We usually just, I don't know, we're not maxing it out. We could be way more organized, way more prepared, way more efficient. And I think this is drawing attention to that.
Beautiful, beautiful. Love it. Couple folks have their hands up, and a couple of folks have commented in the chat. Let me just read the comment from Ace in England. He writes, "I think the virus has made things far worse personally. It's brought collapse much closer. Time isn't something we spare." That's a very good point, and I'm certain Ace is referring there to the loss of global dimming, among other factors, which I'll talk about in a bit. Melissa, did you want to read your comment or speak to what you wrote? Or I'm happy to read it also.
I'm not sure. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you fine.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I've been reading Richard Rudd's Gene Keys quite a bit, and what I find fascinating is, and Dharmendra mentioned the word peace, and I've been looking at the 6th Gene Key, which is peace, about the Siddha is peace, it's conflict, diplomacy, and then the Siddha is peace. And in that Gene Key, what he explains is that in order to get to a state of peace, humans are going to have to vibrate at a much higher vibration to get there, but that the ultimate result of that higher vibration is that we leave our bodies. And so that really brought me back to this understanding that we are going through a process of evolution, that there's the physical reality of loss, of separation, of survival, things we're having to do now. But ultimately, there's a bigger scheme at work here, and that we are in this process of evolving, and we don't really know what that's going to look like. So there's a certain amount of, if I could say, letting go and letting God, and I really personally am enjoying, even though we're having to break our routines, I really am appreciating, that's the word, not enjoying, appreciating that this coronavirus situation is putting us, as Silas calls it, a cocoon. situation, I like the word contemplation, that we're being called to contemplate. And that is something I think humanity has lost. And it's something that I believe in the Middle Ages was done quite a bit, where you were contemplating the meaning of things, the meaning of life, and the meaning of our part in that bigger scheme of things. And I also am seeing a lot of creativity and resilience coming out of this crisis, a lot of reimagining and a lot of synchronicity and people coming together. And I feel very positive about that as well. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you, Melissa. Our really wonderful conversation here. We've got a couple hands up. I also want to welcome Brett, who's just joined us from England. Welcome, Brett. Welcome back. And I think James had his hand up first, followed by Emery. Go ahead, James.
Thanks, Chairman. Yeah, I agree with what you're saying there, Melissa. Well, I agree with what you're all saying, really. In essence, we still have a long road ahead of us with this virus alone, regardless of what we're being told, looking weeks down the road, months down the road. It's a long road, and it is going to be a time for contemplation, no doubt, because it's going to open up a vast awareness in our vulnerability to nature, as far as I'm concerned, because at the end of the day, this virus is part of nature as well. Even if it turned out to be man-made, that's part of nature, because it's the nature of man, even at the end of the day, if it was man-made. But regardless where it came from, that's neither here nor there. It's going to be with us for a while, and it's going to be devastating, and the devastation is going to cause the contemplation and raise an awareness of our vulnerability to nature, and start to hopefully focus our attention on nature more precisely than we have been doing, or the general public have been doing anyway. So unfortunately, it's going to be devastating, and many of us here, even on this conversation, are probably going to have people affected that we know by it, so before it plays out. So it's definitely something that's going to create awareness. That's what I agree on anyway.
Definitely. Huge silver lining of people waking up to the vast majority of humanity waking up to the fact that we've got extremely serious problems, whereas even a few months ago, it was possible to be in denial about it. So waking up, definitely a theme. All right, Emery from Montreal, Canada. Take it away, Emery.
Thanks, Jan. Well, my thoughts about the coronavirus is that the impact of it definitely is going to affect people in a way that, the better side of humanity should come to the forefront. And just like when 9/11 happened, so many people were killed, and all the death that happened over that event, it stirred up the consciousness of many people, and the coronavirus is doing that as well. People are zeroing in on what it means to be alive, and finding out, that it's life can be shortened very easily, and our our ability to show our empathy for other people will be stronger, and our our urgency to make improvements with our way of living should come to the forefront as well as things progress.
Beautiful. Thank you, Emery. Yes, Fred, brother, go for it.
I think the coronavirus is serving us in this way, and that is to force the world to think clearly about our interconnection and how we have to start thinking big. So it's useful in terms of preparing us for all of us to address climate change. So I think that's, the hidden value. It's not so hidden, it's so obvious that, yeah. So that's the upside of the coronavirus. I know it's made me examine everything I do now. It's like, and there is going to be this period of adjusting to this health reality. Yeah. Anyway, so that I see is the benefit of the coronavirus and the interconnection. And I hope to God we can all take the lesson and roll with it, because there's no alternative. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you, Fred. Jackie raised her hand, followed by Timothy. Go ahead, Jackie.
In discussing this with, some of our collaborators and our friends, it's clear that what's going on is the great equalizer. This is what's going on. It's the great equalizer, and it is pulling back the curtain, Wizard of Oz. Everyone is showing their true colors. Everything is being more revealed, is coming to the surface. This is the age of Aquarius is about knowing. It's no longer about believing. It's no longer about being taught. It's about that knowing. And everything is being revealed, and our ability to truly know and our critical thinking is married with our wisdom. And for the first time, we're truly seeing and able to absorb. So it's very surreal for a lot of us. And as far as the collapse, I know it's very scary for so many people, but there is a lot of people on my end that grew up the way I did that are welcoming the collapse, that are welcoming the system, that are tired are looking for those boots to come off our necks and allow us to rise and ascend to our own potential. And the great equalizer is doing that for us, is giving us an opportunity to look side by side, like you said, at that interconnectedness, and realizing that those beliefs and those thoughts and those stories that we've all inherited, Corona doesn't care. And if those stories are subjective, then they're not real, they're not truth. And it's one truth that flows through us all. If that truth is not universal, then it is only our own perspectives. And the coronavirus is giving us an opportunity to look in those mirrors and see, my gosh, I looked at this person differently yesterday than I do today. That was all in my head. So it's really giving us an opportunity, like we said, to go within and really raise our consciousness, because we are taking a quantum leap. This is what's happening. Humanity's taking a quantum leap right now. And Sailesh's 7 core shifts, we're on the second one of those 7 core shifts. So it is very surreal, but it is very courageous and joyful to see this opportunity and go with it with our hearts open, our crown chakras open, our pineal gland open, seeing the truth and being courageous enough to grasp it and do what we know we have to do.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, Jackie. All right, Timothy, go for it.
That's exactly, I feel the same way, Jackie. One of the things that I've felt is that this is a kind of a spontaneous yoga retreat, because we've all been given this thing to be conscious of very simple things. Don't put your finger down your throat. Don't do, all of these things are like the woman who's giving the speech and saying, don't touch your face. And then she goes to turn the page and flicks her finger. Consciousness.
You cut out, Tim.
Yeah, Timothy, we lost your audio there and video.
He is in the concrete canyon.
That's right. That's right. That's right. All right. Well, we'll be patient with Timothy. Hopefully, we'll get you back here momentarily. In the meantime, Melissa has a poem she'd like to read, and then Brett has written an interesting comment. Go ahead, sweetheart.
Okay, thanks. I find this poem really appropriate for, following on this conversation. It's by Mary Oliver. It's called The Summer Day. Who made the world? Who made the swan and the black bear? Who made the grasshopper? The grasshopper, I mean the one who has flung herself out of the grass, the one who is eating sugar out of my hand, who is moving her jaws back and forth, inside of up and down, who is gazing around with her enormous and complicated eyes. Now she lifts her pale forearms and thoroughly washes her face. Now she snaps her wings open and floats away. I don't know exactly what a prayer is. I do know how to pay attention, how to fall down in the grass, how to kneel down in the grass, how to be idle and blessed, how to stroll through the fields, which is what I have been doing all day. Tell me, what else should I have done? Doesn't everything die at last and too soon? Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life?
Beautiful, sweetheart. Beautiful. Wow. Well, Brett's written an interesting comment. Brett, do you want to share that? Go ahead. Yeah.
I will turn it into a philosophical inquiry for now or another time. I said I think my pineal gland might be calcified from too much Mountain Dew in my youth, because I've heard that can do that. I may have to have another part of my brain make up for it. I'm slightly joking. My inquiry is, for any time future, it doesn't have to be off track now. And I've always thought about this. You know how some people are born without an arm, or missing a kidney or something like that? I always thought, like, in the same way, clearly one gland or one part of the body, at least let me pray, cannot possibly be responsible for something like a connection to source. Now, it could be a specific thing like imagination or psychic abilities, and then maybe some people have less of that, so to say, because they have this, like, they were born with, a missing pineal gland, just like somebody could be born without an arm or something. And it's like, it's just neither here nor there. It's just part of their life and creates some limitations or not. But I always had some pushback or resistance when people associate the pineal gland with a connection to God or something like that. Like that was the only way. Like, so, because I was like, oh, but what if your pineal's, so you're telling me because mine's calcified because I had too much Mountain Dew or because I was born that way, that I now don't get the opportunity. Now, I'm not saying you were saying this, Jackie, by the way, you personally. I always just bring in that, like, more precision around that question of, like, yeah, don't be like, I just cannot buy that a gland is responsible for my connection to source, which is different than saying it could be responsible for, access to kind of psychic or and then so be it if that's not one of your strong suits. That's just, everyone has different gifts and all that. But I just found it interesting when people would claim like the pineal was so epic or responsible for like your connection to source. And I was like, but that just doesn't work. I can't believe that God created a situation where someone who's like missing a body part is somehow not equally as able to, to do that. So there's always an interesting topic for me on that level, but I'm not saying you were saying that, Jack. And I wouldn't be surprised if my pineal gland was actually calcified if it is, if soda can do that, which I've heard. I drank so much in my youth that I have actually thought, I bet you my pineal gland is actually calcified. And hello, everybody. That's how I will enter the conversation. Deep thoughts of the pineal gland. Bye. by Brett Wachowski.
Deep thoughts of the pineal gland and Mountain Dew, Brett Wachowski. And no, this is not an advertisement for Mountain Dew. Not that it would be a very compelling one at that. And Timothy, great to see you back, and welcome Maida. Great to see you, Maida, and welcome iPhone, whoever is iPhone. And Timothy, is this a good moment for you to continue sharing after?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fine. My phone died on the porch. Let's say where I left off was that this feels like some kind of retreat, and it is a retreat, and it's imposed by this connection to people in China. It's imposed by our connection to everyone, and like for me, I felt a little bit of pressure from being aware all the time, having that kind of task of being aware of everything. But then as I started to go deeper into being aware, just of myself and giving myself a break. And if I give myself a break, I'll give someone else a break. And I've always felt that it's kind of like an alien invasion that makes us all feel like a community on the planet, that we have this thing that seems to be opposing us and causing us to be quiet, to be in our place, to start doing some art, there really could be something really big from this. And we can't stop. I was telling Fred earlier that I've had this kind of nagging wish that I would get a mild version of this so that I could go back out into the world and be unconscious. It's like, wouldn't have to worry about touching my face because I kind of inoculated against it. But it keeps making me look at that place within myself. And I think everyone's in that space of looking at themselves. Plus, I really miss the socialization. I live in New York City. I know everybody on the street. It's like I haven't seen anyone that, I kind of have this, I see people, I want to go up and say hi. Can't do it. So it really underlines that thing of the preciousness of connection to other people in the present moment. The thing that you start sharing with them, this is fun, but there's something kind of spontaneous about the present moment, not to be too stupid. Yeah. And then Fred brought up the thing about the environment too. And we've seen all of these posts on the internet about Los Angeles hasn't ever looked as good. The waters around Venice are cleared up. We basically stopped polluting. It's a really good thing to look at that we've stopped doing that. In some way, we're in a crisis moment where we've stopped putting our stuff all over the place. And we're going home and we're cleaning out our closets and our cupboards because we have nothing else to do. So, and that's my 2 cents.
Beautiful. Thank you, Timothy. So good to have you here. Wow. Great sharing, everyone. Please keep it flowing. No one's in the queue at the moment, so if you'd like to jump in, please feel free to do so.
Yeah, Timothy, I'm right on in the same place as what you just described. I think for some of us, like myself, so I'm an artist and I have a studio, it's actually allowing me to get into the studio and do things I've been wanting to do for a long time but didn't give myself permission to do. So it's allowing our creative geniuses to also blossom now, which I think is a really positive thing, as well as the simplification that's occurring and us becoming conscious of the impact that our humanity's been having on the planet through our actions.
Beautiful.
I'm sorry, am I butting in? But anyway.
Timothy had a follow-up and then,
okay.
Yeah, go ahead, Timothy.
I love that the reference to being in your studio and doing art. Art is the creation of a being. It's art is, and there's something about art that becomes fundamentally real to other people if it's not just trying to pander to them. And I think that a lot of times in crucial situations like this, we end up creating a more essential art because death is sitting on our shoulder, so that we don't, you know, it's not like you're putting a picture for someone's couch in Bellevue, you know, and that when you're thinking about that, you're thinking about the ultimate, what is the expression of yourself. So I think that's another really positive thing that comes out of it. And sorry for stepping on you, Fred.
So I just wanted to say that of all the things I've experienced in my life, you know, you think with your head, your heart, and your gut, this is the most powerful instance of my gut telling me that something's really changing. It's not, you know, I can't think my way out of this. And yeah, I mean, it feels like a paradigm shift or whatever. It's just completely new ball game. Yeah. Anyway, I'm curious if anybody else their guts have responded the same way. I mean that, you know, they're not thinking about it as much as they're feeling it. Yeah.
Is there anyone in the queue? May I speak?
Oh, go for it, Jackie. And I also want to encourage everyone to mute their own microphones when you're not talking. And welcome Eric, who just joined us. And go for it, Jackie.
Yeah, to answer your question, yeah, it is complete paradigm shift. It is complete, like I said, it is a quantum leap that we're going through. And this is beyond intellect. This is beyond what our brains have the capacity to comprehend. This is a time where we need to go with it and enact and engage and invoke all of our wisdom, all our ancestral wisdom, all the truths that are in our DNA, that are in our cells are coming to the surface. Our bodies are making connections to bring us into the present. And we have never been in the present more than we are right now, because all of that wisdom is now flowing through us. All of that knowledge is awakening, and we're struggling to intellectualize it, but it's not here. It's between both. It's our lower chakras, our upper chakras are meeting in our hearts. And it is time for that wisdom now to connect out. We need to download all of the upgrades that are coming, flow it through our intellect, through our experiences, and shine brightly through our hearts, and let our wisdom guide us. Let our intuition filter through the wisdom, that lens of our life, and understand how we can contribute in service through that. That's what this time is. It's not just here. It is through our minds are all of our bodies. It's our five senses, our sentience, but it's also those spiritual senses that now we're being called to combine them and bring into that knowing, so that our actions are intentional, are wise. That's something humanity's never been asked to do before. Matter of fact, it's been oppressed. Not only are we being invited, it's our time to step up. This is what the book of Revelations is talking about. This is not some macabre, morbid idea. This is the idea of those of us that are rising up to the potential that is within us, and those of us that are falling under the trend of collapse. That's what's rising up. That's what's happening. And it's just going to take a lot more of our intellect. It's going to have to trust our inner wisdom and trust our knowing to get us through this with that vision.
Beautiful, Jackie. I am so grateful you're here, sister. Thank you. Alrighty, Myra has her hand up, followed by Timothy. Go ahead, Myra. Great to see you, sister. Go ahead, Myra.
Hey, everybody. Good to see you all. And, oh my God, what was I going to say?
That happens to me all the time, Myra. Don't feel badly. Just speak from your heart, or you can pause for a moment and let someone else speak. Up to you.
Oh yeah. I wanted to ask you, Jamin, how did the block party went towards the ending with the person that was there speaking Spanish? I'm just wondering if you can just briefly let me know because I fell asleep.
Yeah, no problem. I almost fell asleep myself. And just so everybody knows, we have every week, starting on Friday morning at 6 o'clock in the morning Pacific time, 9 a.m. Eastern, we start a 24-hour collective intelligence block party, which is basically a Zoom video conference like this one. Everyone in the world is welcome. People are welcome to come and go. Same here with the Solution Club. People are welcome to come and go. And anyway, so starting at about 17 hours into the meeting, into the block party, we had a really awesome guest speaker from Spain, Fernando, who is the president of a United Nations ongoing seminar on peace and cultural transformation. And he speaks fluent Spanish and French. He lives in Spain, but he doesn't speak English. So I was kind of translating by keyboard the main points. And then I, like you, Mayra, was getting very, very tired. And Fernando is brilliant. And he was speaking rapid Castilian Spanish while I'm more used to Mexican Spanish these days. But anyway, absolutely brilliant. He was really talking about the theme of unity and all of us coming together, and just the nature of unity. He's extremely well educated, just an incredible intellectual. So he'll be back again, I think, and I could tell he really appreciated being on the program and having an opportunity to speak and interact. And he had the floor for a few hours there, actually, and it's all recorded. It was really awesome. And thank you so much for inviting Fernando, Mayra. Thank you so much.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome. I did, I did think that it was very interesting, with no doubt. But he's like a library. He has so much information, and it seemed like as we were all probably just tired and falling asleep, I saw him like visualize him like a person that really needed to talk and to speak and to give him that opportunity to really let out all of the stuff that he was trying to, I guess, his message in a way. But anyways, it's just wanted to ask that. And another, I don't know if it's more like a question or suggestion, or I saw a video today, and I usually, when I post on my social media, I don't post just things that don't have fundamentals. I usually just post things that I'm almost 100% sure that this is what's happening and things like this. And today, I was looking at some news, and I saw a doctor that was talking about how are things in Spain, and it kind of broke me. It kind of broke me a little bit to know how many deaths they have in Spain and how everyone is now forced to not live their homes unless they have an emergency or they have lack of foods in their homes. However, they have a new way of ordering food online. I didn't share that because I wasn't so sure if that is what's really happening. So what I did is that I called several people in Spain within our organization, and I asked them, how are things really going on over there? And they all responded the same, and they did mention that things are out of control. In the way of the virus spread, that they wish that every government can look at what is happening right now in Spain and use how China avoided more spread upon people. Use it as a role model, I guess, because governments are acting really late and they are so afraid of the economy collapsing, which is a road that this is going to be, it's going to happen. The economy is going to collapse whether they like it or not. However, what has me thinking right now is how far is it going to take them to realize that eventually we're going to end up like Spain, Italy, and those kind of places if we don't shut down completely and just do kind of like what Sailesh has been talking about with doing food delivery, and not just food, but nutrient food. I just wanted to share that with you guys and see what you guys have an opinion about this. What are your thoughts over this? And I know there's not much we can do because usually the people that can make this shift, unfortunately, is the governments and all those people in charge. But as far as us collaborating with this Vegan Road 2026 with collective intelligence, I feel like we can be a part of that shift and use these platforms to even present it to the governments, to legislators, to the city mayors, and tell them, look, this is what's happening in other countries. That's the same path that we are following if we don't do what we have to do, what we believe that is going to definitely avoid the spread, and not only avoid the spread, but give people what they need for their bodies to be the best pharmacy that they can find. So just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Thank you, Maida. Great to see you, sister. All righty, Timothy, is this you had your hand up? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just to speak to the last caller, I think that you're right. The economy, it looks like it's changing, and I think that the economy is breaking off all of the edges. It's already been changing quite a bit, but it's changing dramatically now. And I'm not sure if we can look outside to another. Everyone is, we are the government, we are everything is. We have to get out and kind of like reorganize this whole thing from a bunch of boys in a sandbox fighting over their egos to life and death. You know, I mean, that's what is. I remember I really always loved Holbein's engravings about the plague, and he always had these like skeleton figures leaning on a king's shoulder because everybody is subject to death. And you know, the other thing I wanted to say to Jackie, because I was feeling this like our past, our history as human beings on the planet is very sordid and like almost unbelievably oppressive to different types of people, whether it's what you're saying or what you look like or where you're from. There's always some kind of like fear that causes dissonance with other people. And I think that if this is profound enough for us to go within and actually forgive ourselves and be loving towards ourselves, it's going to make a better world. And I really feel like that this is the kind of violence that would create an evolutionary change that would benefit people, rather than there's always like, you did this to my ancestors and I'm coming after you for that. And that's just a cycle that will repeat itself forever. This is kind of a game changer in the fact that it's just pulled the battery out of everyone's situation. Everyone has to go home and look at themselves, which I think is pretty fun. And that's all.
Beautiful. Thank you, Timothy. I just want to acknowledge the amazing collective intelligence that is present and emerging right here, right now. This is all of us thinking as a collective, as a group. And it's such a beautiful thing. And it's also something that's now really emerging organically from this crisis, and all of us being grounded at home. We're such a social species, and so now we're connecting via video conference. And I'll have a lot more to say about what's possible and what's emerging from that, as we often talk about. But I'm just really loving the flow here. So I'm going to go on mute, and no one's in the queue at the moment that I'm aware of. So feel free to jump in if you have a comment or question. You know, and another beautiful thing about this, as I look at images, you know, there are Timothy's beautiful home and the artwork, and Jackie's home and Melissa's studio and our home here, etc. It's like we're letting each other into our homes, right? And it's like we're tearing down the walls. Imagine 2 adjacent apartments in New York, for example, and they just eliminate the wall or open up a big window, for example. Maybe that's a better analogy. These are windows into each other's lives. And we're saying, wait a second, we're all here together. We're not separate, right? The illusion of separation is being dissolved. The illusion of separation.
Right. The greatest spiritual aha moment for me was that it takes one to know one. So here we are, sharing our oneness with each other.
Absolutely. Yes, Jackie, go for it, Jackie.
And I have to say, one of the most beautiful things that's come out of this is really to be grateful. Really to be grateful. Like you were talking about, like sharing window. My sister lives next door, and we have a wall separating, and we just opened a segment of the wall, so we share a backyard, and so we're always back and forth. So the social distancing is a privilege to be in my home, to have this backyard, to be stuck with my 18-year-olds, but I think about like my family that's in New York that live in high rises. And I spoke with my uncle who has 3 children and a boxer in an apartment on like the 13th floor. And to see what they're going through, to see what's happening in India, that's social distancing is such a privilege for us that's not even an option for so many. So to be in gratitude that I get to sit while I'm in this cocooning, in this perpetual meditation that I'm being invited to go into, and that I can sit in my backyard and take some sun, that I can sit and enjoy and watch the dogs playing while I'm doing this time, and be present with those that don't have this privilege of spending this time and sending that love and that energy to them as well. So it's like really to be grateful for what we have in this moment has been really eye-opening, and to help my children see really the opportunity that we have right now, and to be grateful for the space that we have and the friends and the connections that we have.
Heck yes. Beautiful, Jackie. Thank you. Love the sharing. All right, Myra has her hand up. Go ahead, Myra.
I raise my hand every time Jackie speaks because she inspires me so much. Hey, yes, I definitely believe that we are very lucky. I'm in the second floor of an apartment, but even though I have a park right here, right across from me, and we are very privileged. I was reading 2 articles about a Hopi message from the spiritual masters from the Hopi Native Americans, and also another one from the mountains in Colombia, like the Andes. I don't know if this is how do you say it in English? Las montañas de los Andes in Colombia?
The Andes Mountains in Colombia.
The Andes Mountains, yeah. Basically the masters, the spiritual masters from over there. And they were sending a beautiful message for all those people we are already in that spiritual path, how it's very important that we maintain in a very peaceful state of mind, and how we all decided that we wanted to be a part of this even before we came here physically. And we have all chose individually what place we wanted to live in this exact moment in 2020, with this pandemic, because the universe knows exactly what needs to happen in order for humanity to raise their state of consciousness. So how before we came to this world, we pick up that place where we wanted to be particles of light to help humanity raise up or rise up, to elevate their consciousness. So I think it's beautiful because we see it and we realize that this is who we truly are, and not only us, but every human being. We are light, just that a lot of them, they are still unaware in how we can expand our light and let them know our wisdom within veganism, within saving the planet. I think it's just beautiful. I'm honestly concerned. Yes, I am. Does my heart breaks for all the deaths? It does break. I'm a human. But I am very, very, very happy, honestly. And yeah, there's something else that I wanted to share with you guys, but I'll pop in. It went out of my mind.
Yeah, just keep popping back, Maida. No problem. And in fact, having once spent an evening with the Harlem Globetrotters when they were visiting Culiacan, Mexico, and it was totally serendipitous. And I ended up just taking them around town, and we went to different clubs. And I'm pretty tall, so when a bunch of kids came up for autographs and they put papers in front of me, I just scribbled my name. Why not? So it was kind of like I was a Harlem Globetrotter for a little bit there. But anyway, I mentioned the Harlem Globetrotters because what are they doing? They're constantly passing the ball around. It's not like one of them says, all right, this is my ball now, this is my moment, and I'm going to do a solo layup or slam dunk or whatever. It's just always passing around. So Myra, I really just want to encourage you to just pop in and out. And it's okay to say half a thought and then throw it out there to the group and just keep it flowing. This is kind of like a new art form that we're co-creating here of the co-created conversation, which is a crucial, this is kind of like the fundamental, if not the atom, the fundamental molecule of collective intelligence is the group conversation. And then of course, the network of group conversations is where it gets super fascinating, and we'll get to that, but I don't want to interject that conversation into this conversation right now, just to acknowledge the flow and the back and forth. So let's keep it flowing. Such a beautiful thing.
You know what? I did wanted to share. I just remembered. For instance, my grandpa, he's been having a cough and dry, just a little bit, I guess, of the symptoms, which they have the tendency of confusing a lot because now we're in spring and we get a lot of people get a lot of allergies. So there's a lot of, I guess, chaotic situation because people don't know if they're experiencing symptoms of the COVID-19 or they're just having allergies or maybe just a minor cold, which we get it around this time of the season. However, those people and within myself and Melissa and Jackie and everybody here, which I consider we are truly blessed because we are in that path of inner healing ourselves. And once we experience that and we are able to share that with others, I was practicing with my grandpa some of the Ayurveda medicine that I even practiced it with Jackie one of the last times that I saw her. And I did the same thing with my grandpa. And we were talking to him, and just, he was a little bit worried because he's 83 years old already. And I was like, okay, Grandpa, if you have the COVID-19, don't worry. You'll be fine. I'll take care of you. So I did exactly the same thing that I did with Jackie. And it was amazing, amazing to see all what he released through phlegms and mucus. And just to even listen to the type of voice, how it changed once we got all that stuff out. And I was telling my Grandpa, can you imagine all those phlegms that you just released with the little thing that I did to you? Can you imagine all those people that are unaware of this type of healing, that we have it in our kitchen? We have it available right there handy. You practice it within yourself. You get rid of all the nasty thing that does not belong in your body, and you are more protective with any type of virus. It's not just the COVID-19. But it was amazing. It was quite impressive to see all the stuff that he released. And knowing that he's here and he's with me, and that I can share the little knowledge that I've been obtaining this past couple of months with Ayurveda medicine, with the China type of medicine. It's beautiful. I'm enjoying every minute of it.
Awesome, Maida. Well, I'm enjoying every minute of this conversation. So cool. I just really want to encourage people to keep popping in. Again, even with a half thought or the beginning of a thought, and just, just try it. I've learned over time to just dance in the conversation. I used to worry about what I was going to say in any given conversation. And I can remember when I was in my early 20s and I had to make cold calls, was part of this business I was working on. And I would get so freaked out that I would literally have to lie on my back on the floor and take like deep breaths and close my eyes before I made a cold call and potentially screwed something up, right? So anyway, I'm so grateful to have gotten to a point in my life where I don't think about what I'm about to say. It's more like I'm just like a channel for whatever is being downloaded through me. And then combine that thought with all of us together holding hands, like, parachutists holding hands before they pull their chutes. I came up with the metaphor last week of, it feels like the ground below us has been removed and we're falling, and we're all falling together in a waterfall. And if we can all hold hands and form like a giant human, grid network, then metaphorically, all of us holding hands, we form like a sail and we paraglide out into a beautiful valley and a beautiful future, rather than crashing on the rocks below the waterfall. And so the only way to save ourselves is really by coming together, like what we're doing right now. And then again, imagine this conversation being part of a vast network of literally, say, 1 million other conversations happening. Why not? 1 million conversations times 12 people per conversation, right? That's about 12 million people. That's about one, that's not even, that's like 1 in 800 people in the world participating, or 1 in 700 is all that it would take in order for us to have a network of 1 million conversations of this size. And that's really profound. And then if you think about people then being able to bounce from conversation to conversation, facilitated by, for example, the indexing of everything that's being said in these conversations, the transcription and indexing, which are now free technologies. Timothy, you've got a comment. Go for it. See, this is Harlem Globetrotting, so just pass the ball.
This is it. Language is a virus. We can't get away from it.
Exactly. And in fact, a big theme of yesterday, working with Melissa, was on the concept of idea viruses, right?
Right.
And
Right.
let's fight fire with fire. Let's stop the coronavirus with idea viruses. And so we're now talking about idea virus memology as a new discipline, you know, taking those idea viruses, packing them into tight memes, and putting those out into the world. And now imagine that we're just generating all these different memes. And
Right.
then through that process and through socializing them and sharing them, the great memes will bubble to the top. The ones that really resonate with our hearts will bubble to the top, and everyone will be talking about them, right?
Right.
And then you can think about, I mean, it's really exciting where we can go with this, because a meme encapsulates so much in like 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 words or whatever, but there's a whole story behind it. But that encapsulation, we can then put together different combinations of these memes. It's like different size Lego blocks snapping together to create something really beautiful and functional, right? And so I
Right.
think of the new story for humanity as being something that we can build an initial prototype of just using these memes. So we'll get more into that as we go on. But Timothy, sounds like you got more to say. Go ahead.
I always have more to say. I'm always thinking about something, but and I have the same problem of I just say whatever I say, and then I say I'm sorry later. You know.
Yeah.
Uh,
Better to ask forgiveness than to ask permission. So just go for it. Carry on.
Yeah. But one of the things that this brings up is that this is a very somber moment as well, because we all know people that were afraid are going to die from this, or have heard about someone, or it's touching everyone. Death is definitely one of those tearful moments that we can't really, we owe it to all the people just to be very conscious of our own mortality and sharing in that sadness of someone going. I just heard something on NPR about someone in New York whose son died, and then his son's wife was sick and she barely got out of it. And it's this, it's reaching in deep, it's very serious, and that what we're creating is something very serious. And I think that we really have been sent to our room. We've been told to go in the room and to figure it out. It's like a scolding in a way. And that figuring out, the parent in us that sends us to our room essentially wants the best for us, wants us to come out like an amazing flower. They don't know anything else to do except just go to your room. And so that's what we're dealing with right now. I think we have kind of I've always wondered why the world was so completely unfathomably stupid. Like, who would ever consider going to another place in this country that's beautiful and killing the people there? Who would think of that, you know? And I think that we haven't graduated out of being, I don't even think we're adolescent. I think we're really in a very me mind 2-year-old mentality that doesn't understand the interconnectedness of each other. And this will do it for sure. We're definitely connected now.
I feel like we're in the 2-year-old stage of development where we're just like egocentric, and we're only now breaking out of the egocentrism to realize that the world doesn't revolve around us as a species.
Wow, I just gotta hit a flash. So I'm gonna make something up about the prenatal mind inside the womb, just as out of convenience. I don't actually know this, and it may be the opposite. But anyway, let's assume that in the prenatal mind, there's really no thoughts going on. Just all the cells in the fetus and the growing embryo are just focusing on growing, and there's really no thinking going on. Then when the child is born into the world, suddenly there's all this external stimulus pouring in, and then inside the mind, connections are now being made, sense is now being made of that external inputs that are now flowing in. right? It's kind of like, up until now, each of us has been, each human being, now just think of the whole world as this giant prenatal brain, right? All of humanity surrounding the whole world is a giant prenatal brain, where each kind of neuron inside the brain is represented by a human being. I'm a neuron. Nolan, you're a separate neuron. Timothy, you're a separate neuron. And each of us is just kind of here in this sort of, I'm just going to do a flurry of words, and feel free to unmute and add to those words. But each of us is being kind of narcissistic. We're hoarding because that's what we were taught to do. I think of Jamin as a little bubble, and how do I maximize Jamin's pleasure, wealth, ego, social standing, likability, whatever, right? So each of us is in this narcissistic, isolated state, right? And now with, first of all, exponential climate change, wildfires in Australia, melting ice, you know this, you know the role. And then bam, coronavirus. It's like this giant prenatal brain is being born into this reality that before was still there. It just wasn't aware of it because it was safely inside this womb of capitalism, individualism, hoarding, separation. I'm going to build my own McMansion and just create my own little universe inside of that and be totally disconnected from the world, et cetera, et cetera. Now we're being born into reality. Data input is streaming in through our senses. We're being constrained. We're being smacked on the butt, right, as we're being born and told we can't leave our home, and we've only got so much to eat, and this may be the end. And it's just like, wow. So now we're connecting to each other. The neurons are connecting. Right now, my neuron is firing, and all of you neurons are receiving. And I'm about to go on mute, and some of the other neurons that have been activated are going to fire. So fire away, neurons. Let the firing begin. You're fired.
Fire, fire, fire. That reminds me of, speaking of random thoughts, Beavis and Butthead, early 90s. Excellent episode. Very way ahead of his time for those who made fun of it. Hi, everybody.
Which episode, Brett? I'm a huge Beavis and Butthead.
I don't know. I just remember them saying fire, fire, fire. But they were all good, really. Like when I look back, they were like, as you would expect, lots of gems, you know, and social commentary that some of us probably missed when we first saw them when we were 18 or 19 or something like that. I mean, it would probably be boring now, but there's also kind of like some stuff in there that would probably be interesting. Related neurons that fire together and all that. I was watching this video by this guy named John Vervaeke, who was giving a talk on psychotechnologies when I think of memes and viral memes. So I put a link in there to the actual TEDx presentation and a little abstract from somebody else's article. We used to actually call this thoughtware. We didn't, before I heard the term psychotechnologies in our project, we used to say we were creating thoughtware before the software. But psychotechnologies is a cool concept because he's talking about how literacy and numeracy are psychotechnologies because they're, you know, how we think and how we use our mind. And then there's other kind of psychotech, whether it's, you know, fasting or sensory deprivation. Then you've got pharmacological psychotech, mental psychotech. So when I look at our project, we're even redefining what a currency is. And it struck me, I was like, yes, this is another way for me to talk about what we've been up to, psychotechnology, because we're looking at creating new currencies and new symbol systems, really. And that's how he defines psychotech. So it's just an interesting thing if people are interested in that kind of philosophical kind of space, and YouTube is in there. And speaking of narcissistic isolated states, I've been doing a little experiment in my head. I'm a big fan of non-dualism as a sort of as a theory or kind of perspective, and I'm a big fan of Mooji, who for me is the greatest right now public. I'm sure there's awesome people everywhere, but as a public figure, and I've heard some weird shit about him, like personally, but I'm not really talking about that. Like I think he's one of the best, most skillful people in helping people point to the question of who am I, and helping them go through that type, if you're into that path of who am I, which Ramana Maharishi really started. Well, I mean, in the 20th century, it's been, going on eternally. But I've been doing a little experiment in my head where I'm talking about myself in third person. So to get out of the space of just Brett, it's all about Brett, like this character I've created in my head, instead of saying like, oh, I feel hungry today, because I'm a linear person in my mind. And I saw an article recently. I thought everyone in the world had a running dialogue in their head and used words to form their thoughts. But apparently, I'll find the article if I can. I'm sure a lot of you would find it interesting. Some people think in like images or something, and then they have to like translate. I don't even understand it, to be honest, because I just thought everyone did what I did. But it was a fascinating article. So I'm a linear thinker. So I've been trying this experiment in my head where I say like, oh, Brett is hungry. Brett has a lot of thoughts. And as a way to create some separation between like my projected self and sort of the witness of those, of my character. So that just came up for me when you talked about narcissistic isolated states. And I just thought I'd share about kind of some of the stuff I'm working on a personal level to help on my spiritual path and consciousness path.
Hey, Brett.
It also relates to E prime, by the way, which a famous logician came up with, Alfred Korzybski, where you don't talk in is language. So instead of saying like, is this, you say like, this seems to be, or it appears this way. And what that does is it takes you out of Aristotelian logic of like, all Jewish people are cheap, all Mexicans are this, those are absolute statements. And it's all based on is language of absolute black and white. So if you can, and it's a very hard thing to do. Everyone should try it just for a day, let alone a lifetime, to walk around saying like, leaving the word is out of your statement. So it's always like, it seems this way, it might be, it appears this way to me. Some black people are this, some Jewish people are this, and it changes your whole neurosemantic programming. If you can actually embody that, it actually will change the way you think about the world and create a different perception. So those are some of the tools I've used in my life. And I always try to remember that, actually. And if any of you guys remember and you hear me say a black and white if statement, you can say, oh, E prime, you're back to is, Brett, because I do like to talk in E prime, actually. It's a beautiful habit because it depersonalizes things and it changes a lot.
That was created like back in the time of Buddha, right? That he taught his disciples to do that when they were sitting and meditating so that they could develop the witness.
Yeah,
so,
everything's a rehash.
Yeah, so it's a nice way to say it, E prime, but I love your psychotechnology term. I mean, Jesus. This, I think, if I dare speak for everybody, I think this is a field of psychotechnologists on the cutting edge of all kinds of stuff in these meetings here. Just really beautiful. That's all. I just wanted to say, wow, psychotechnology. I got a new word to play. I'm going to use that for all it's worth. Thank you, Brett.
Beautiful stuff. And in fact, well, first of all, welcome, Cezary. Great to see you. Cezary dialing in from Poland. And, regarding what you were just saying there, Brett, we could and will do exercises exactly what you're talking about, changing our words and our framing and our relating, and do it in group. And that way we catch each other and just do it as a group exercise. What a beautiful way to build it out and reinforce it and play with it. And let that be just the beginning of a whole new kind of mental, metaphysical, existential gymnastics that we can do. We're starting out doing jumping jacks, but next thing you know, we'll be on parallel bars and we'll be like spinning through the air like those Koreans do so flawlessly, and boom, and we'll be putting weird stuff on our head like Melissa, and just experimenting with different forms of connection, right? Etc. Anyway, I'm all for it. Love it, and loving this conversation. Love all of you. I love us as a whole, as a group, as a collective intelligence. Yay us, and carry on. No one's in the queue at the moment that I'm aware of, so just jump in.
I would love to say something if possible. Yeah, I just wanted to say something from inspired by what Brett was talking about. So, Brett, I see things in pictures, and my language where I'm most fluent is art, because I get to tell stories and speak in pictures with art. And just as Jackie is very eloquent with words, I am less eloquent with words, and I'm very eloquent creating pictures. So I just wanted to say, you know, that there are so many different forms of language, as you know. Some is visual, some is word, some is music, sound, some is dance. And that's what I find rich about the world that we live in.
Well, since nobody's talking, I'll just go into the twilight zone here for a little bit, just for some fun, because I like to bring things in from hyperdimensional space, which is just a fun place to go. Once you discover you can go there. But the way the primary method of communication when you're basically in very deep states of meditation and you're encountering beings that are disembodied but are conscious and creative is basically what's called light pictographs. And basically you literally are a picture with certain elements in it. Each element has a certain like density of meaning. And when you touch it with your consciousness, it opens up in a way, like for instance, say you had a spoon in there and you touched it with your consciousness in this light pictograph that this being is sending you as a means of communication, it would open up into every type of possible permutation of the implications of what a spoon is, even into metaphorical uses of a spoon in ways you hadn't maybe considered yet. And it's just fascinating. It's just a way of speaking. I guess you could call it, I wouldn't even know what to call it, hyper thought, hyper speak, something like that. But they're light pictographs, and they're amazing because the minute you step into that realm, you're in what they call a chamber. And in that chamber, you're basically intercommunicating with a being that can send a tremendous amount of information in one picture, each part of which is a living, breathing, moving, intelligent form of communication. So I just throw that into the mix just because it's actually a reality that you can discover once you hit a certain frequency of, not leaking anymore through years of meditation. You learn how to build and build. It's all about energy. When you get enough energy, your awareness opens to a degree that you can't even begin to explain to another person. The only thing you can do is do what I do and share it like this and develop techniques like we do with Shadow Gift Siddha to help people to slowly and learn how to gradually accelerate their consciousness, eventually to come to a place where you can start to interact and communicate with beings of high, of literally higher forms of consciousness that have transcended the need to be in a physical body because their consciousness is too big for it. It would just blow it up. That it would short circuit the whole thing because it'd be an overload. And places we'll all probably be going after we leave this world will become beings like that, slowly, or quickly, who knows? But just something to consider, because I think it's part of what psychotechnology is leading toward. Supercomputer sense of psychotechnology and superintelligence sense of psychotechnology.
Hey guys.
And to remember, I want to add
I totally loved.
That I also, sorry. Who is that?
I just wanted to say I love you guys. It was really great meeting you, and I'm going to go do something else here. But be well, and try not to worry. Sadnam, Buddha boys. Bye-bye.
Timothy, great to see you, and look forward to seeing you again. Welcome back.
Yeah.
Anytime, feel free to come and go. We'll likely still be going at it several hours from now, so feel free to pop back in if you're so inclined.
Okie doke. Have fun. Bye.
Great to see you. Thanks. Alrighty, and Eric's had his hand up, and Melissa, I think you were in the middle of saying something. Go ahead.
Thank you, Jamin. Yeah, just from what Amanda was, I say that is the creative imagination, where whether you're in rumination, which I understand is to be a direct link to creation, it's not just our imagination that's not separate from, or whether you're meditating and going into these higher states of communication, it's where you enter the realm of all possibility. And it's really our minds that limit that. So if we can get out of our mind, that is where we can tap into that infinite potential and possibility of creation. And for me personally, that's where I find it really exciting, is when you let go and you just swim in that beautiful ocean of all possibilities.
Hey, sweetheart, you're breaking up, and you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to email you the info to dial in by phone, so you can do that, so we can hear you more clearly, because you broke up quite a bit there at the end. But I think we got the gist of what you were saying. Anyway, just wanted to give you that feedback. All righty. Eric, you've had your hand up for a bit. Thank you for your patience. Great to see you. Welcome, and love to hear from you.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you just fine.
Okay, cool. Just confirming. I'm also going to jump off, but just wanted to, send you guys a wave and of good vibes. A lot of really good stuff's been shared. Once again, what brought me to this group was technology, and the Guy McPherson ecology stuff, and it all ends up coming back to what I really rely upon, which is the spiritual component. And so happy to share what works for me. And my lineage is A Course in Miracles. So miracles are what I put into practice. And so going to what one of our brothers there was talking about, it's a self-study psychoanalysis. And that's really the quickest way to advance, looking at yourself as a patient and diagnosing yourself. Whatever form your lineage takes you, definitely that's a very quick way to ascend. And also what Dharmendra was talking about if you want to call it multidimensional beings, your angels, God, your inner guide, the Holy Spirit, whatever, it's already in you. And it respects your free will. So you have to ask your inner guide to get the answer. So just remember that part. And so during this this COVID thing, I ended up asking within, and I'll just share you what the answer from my inner guide was. In the Course, there is a small pamphlet. It's called the Song of Prayer. And Christ outlines the 3 levels of prayer. And I'll just go into them briefly. The first level is form. So to pray in form is, I want money. I don't want the virus to come into my body. I don't want an economic meltdown, whatever. And then that's the lowest form. The next level up from form is content. And to pray in content is to ask for more abstract things. So whenever we're on the form level of prayer, we should bring it up. So I want health. I want happiness. I want peace. And so that's definitely a way to open up so that your inner guide brings you what you perceive to be lacking. And then the final level is gratitude. And since we're all already the risen Christ, we can jump to the 3rd level whenever we want. So the 3rd level is simply gratitude. If we're perceiving gratitude in our experience, our mind is already connected to its source. We can call it miracle-mindedness. And so it goes back to what I perceive as the lesson that the collective is learning here, which is I'm gonna, you know, take you collectively away from your transfixion on more and different and intense and quiet down a little bit here. Simmer down now, as they would say, you know? So it just, you know, it brings us back to reprioritizing what we really need, right? Which is first God's love, you can call it maybe next air, then clean water, then a warm bed, and then, you know, our closest relations and a meaningful relationship. And so just I suggest doing that inner work. And so when I got that guidance, just so you know, of course, miracles happen all the time. And I'm healthy. And I even, during the middle of this whole thing, I just closed a really big deal. And I'll be retiring. This is the first day of my retirement. So just so you know, it can go well for you, even though on the outside, it, you know, it's kind of crazy. You can remain in the eye of the hurricane, even though there's a hurricane going on. And what really allowed me to go through the chaos that was going on was gratitude. And so I recommend that highly to anyone that's having difficulty to, you know, maintaining trust, which is what our sister in the blue was talking about. So anyway, just a couple of ideas that I want to share with you and tell you that you can go through this entire process without getting physical symptoms, without having to overly protect yourself physically from, like, you know, whatever. You know, what you don't want is the effects of the virus. If everyone's going to end up getting the virus anyway, well, might as well start doing my mind training now, rely upon God, and then it comes into my body and I don't feel the effects. So I've already done that, and I'm not on this resisting stage of, you know, defending myself. And so that's worked for me in the past with the flu that my family got once, and I did my mind training on it. Everybody got sick. I didn't get sick. And so it really works if you work it, you know, if you really assume this, what our other brother was talking about, that non-dual aspect, that at the end of the day, if you believe in non-duality, everything is inside of your own mind. And so, you know, if you don't resist anything, then nothing is going to be attacking you. So be happy, share the love, but it, you know, it's really the wisest thing that you can do. Instead of teaching someone how to, you know, wash their hands better, you help them get over their fears, and that's how they return to contacting their source, which is absolute, has all power, and allows them to remain healthy. Blessings. Love you guys. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you, Eric. Congratulations. And I'm honored that you would spend some of your first day of retirement with us. And please feel free to come and go throughout the day. We'll be here probably for several more hours. Dharmendra has something to say. Go for it, Dharmendra.
Yeah, I want to speak to two things. One is the thing that was put in the chat that Imre put out about a manufactured virus, which could be quite possible. And I would have no doubt if that was revealed as to be true. But the thing that is interesting is that there's a collective evolution that's going on right now from Mother Nature, from the mother of all forms of life, not just us humans. And these people that may have done this are not part of that. It's not possible for them to catch that frequency. They're the part that's trying to hold on at all costs to the old, because they don't want to lose it. Because they know when they leave this world, they've already spent their soul in this darkness. And when you spend your soul in darkness, it's not a good thing what happens after that. I won't go into that because that involves beliefs of different people. But they have no way of reckoning with what we're doing. As a matter of fact, these collective awakening groups that are happening, I'll just say it like it is, we're a collective awakening that's happening. And it's just basically what we're all participating in. And the more we do it, the more everybody's coming out with their light and their love, their laughter, and all the rest of it that follows off of that. The second thing I wanted to point out too, though, is that if you really start to understand this awakening, it's like we spend so much time in our life earning money to then create things. And the good part is that we can do good for others. If we have money, then we can put it to causes or create causes. We can help others. But the other side of it is this, that so much of what people do with money is to go out and do things so they can experience certain states by doing those things. And that to me is really bass backwards, because once you get what awakening is about, you can come into contact with any state you want, independent of it being dependent upon what you do on the outside, whether you go on a fancy cruise or you go and experience the latest cutting edge technology, whatever it is that gives you a little rush. I mean, personally, when you start to awaken, you realize you can tap into those spaces and have permanent connection with inner states of consciousness that our culture and everything has driven us, our conditioning, everything has driven us to seek it in the outside. We've got to go out and be successful. We've got to create all these things so that we can go do what we want and experience things the way we want to experience them. But when you come into your awakening and through meditation or yoga or prayer, whatever way you do it, there's so many different ways you can do it through psychotechnology. That kind of, gives a huge synthesis of all that together. Basically, you realize that it's you, and it's not that you're in control of it. It's just that you start to discover who you are and you open to it. And so from our mind, it gives us this illusion that we're in control of it. We make it happen. We do it this way. That isn't true. What's true is that we can open ourselves and remove all the barriers and become more and more pure in who we are and more receptive to what reality is. And as we do that, reality will seek us out more and more too, because reality will definitely come to you. If you make one step toward reality, reality will make 100 steps toward you. But you have to make a step toward reality, not your idea of reality. The only way you do that is by clearing out your conceptions of what you think reality is in the first place. It's not a mental thing. It has to come at the very least from an opening in your heart, and then eventually you tap into your being and you start getting connected to the source in so many different ways. So to me, yes, success can be on the outside. There's nothing wrong with that. It makes life easier, sure. I mean, everything, if you have enough money, great, you're set. There's nothing wrong with that. I totally support that. But what I'm saying is too many people are chasing after that as the way to find happiness. By law, that will never happen. You have to find happiness first. And then whether you find the other or not, that's up to you. And then it's great if you have a lot of creativity and you can create a lot of money out of that awakening. That's beautiful. But so many people are stopping themselves from experiencing that happiness until they get this. And I'll be happy when I get that. I have so many people, even more so in the spiritual path than anywhere else I've heard. I'll be happy when I finally get this, when I finally get that, when I finally get this. And that's just a carrot on a stick, being chased by a rabbit. It just keeps going like that, around in a circle, never goes anywhere. So I just kind of want to throw that in. Just because when you see somebody has success, now they're retired, well, now what? It's like you still have to be creative. Now you don't have to struggle for your existence, but now maybe your next struggle is, how do I share this with other people in a way they can benefit from it? Because I benefited from it. Something that takes it to the next level. You took care of yourself. Now, since that's been done, how do you step into your heart and start taking care of others like you've been taking care of? I mean, just ideas, to think about, and also to take into your heart and feel, because just too many people chasing the money thing and thinking that's the way. That's just, that isn't the way. The way comes from inside. I can experience myself on top of Mount Everest just by sitting on my meditation cushion. I don't sit on a meditation cushion anymore. This is my meditation, but you get my point. My point is, it's already there. You don't have to go chasing after it, getting all this money and hiring all these, that's an immense undertaking to go climb. And I'm guessing it's a really radical experience, and I've done some really radical things in my life, like skydiving. What a rush that is. But I mean, it's nothing compared to what can happen in your inner space when you start to discover and come into touch with that. So there's my little blurb.
Awesome. Thank you, Dharmendra. And welcome, Volodymyr. Feel free to chime in at any time. what an amazing conversation. Love to hear from folks, especially folks who haven't spoken yet.
Can I just quickly respond though to Vladimir about why aren't you just meditating in a cave?
No, that was Cesare. Cesare who said.
Oh, Cesare.
Yeah.
Oh, well, Cesare. Oh, why did I say? Oh, you said hi, Vladimir. Never mind. I misinterpreted. I am meditating in a cave right now with all of you guys. Where are you at?
No, but I'm just saying you don't need us. Just meditate without us. Just create us in your mind. Maybe you could have a better creation.
What a silly junior high school thing to do. But thanks. Good. Nice try.
I'm here for you, man. Always.
All right, and Volodymyr, welcome. I hear your comment. You're a newbie here. Here, I'm going to pause recording for a second. Okay.
I give full permission to record everything.
Thank you.
Yes.
We've resumed recording. Please continue, Volodymyr, and good to see you.
So basically, a few words about myself. I'm 21 years old. I'm from Ukraine. I would say I'm a lifelong student, if one can say this about himself. Basically, Caesar, or Caesar, I don't know, I'm sorry, man, how to spell it properly. Zari. Yeah, he brought me here. Basically, he introduced me this, so to say, club. And basically, we are working together on the Igora project, and we already had one meeting, and I'm just, so to say, trying to get involved into the sphere of global politics, so on and so forth. And however, this may be, so to say, utopia, but I believe that everyone can make a little but a change in the world society, in the global order. If we will strive to do something together, I do believe that one day we will see a great result. I guess that's
beautiful. And I'm so happy you're here, Volodymyr. So happy you're here. Welcome.
Likewise.
Yeah, and feel free to just jump in. We're having just a very open, flowing conversation right now.
Okay.
There's a few items on the agenda we'd like to get to, but this is a very long form meeting. We've been here in this meeting for just a little over 2 hours now, and we'll probably go for another 6 hours, for a total of 8 hours here on the Solution Club. And you may be familiar as well with the Collective Intelligence Block Party, which we do every Friday, Saturday for full 24 hours straight.
I heard about it.
Yeah, and you're welcome to that as well as to all of our meetings. And I really love the long form because it creates space for us to really be thoughtful and reflective and share whatever we have to share. And
yes, I agree.
Beautiful, wonderful, awesome.
Okay.
All righty. Well, our friend Cesare has his hand up. Go ahead, Cesare.
So first of all, the whole long form, yeah, it's really great, and I don't think that would really be possible, like in person. Like imagine people coming together for 8 hours and sit in, and the Zoom has really opened up that possibility. I'm sitting in my kitchen. If I'm hungry, tired of the meeting, I can step out, go to the bathroom, and still participate. The other thing is, look what I'm doing right now. I want to share my screen with you. So I just created a Facebook group. It's called Zoom Collective Intelligence Public Forum. And I would like whoever here is on Facebook to, well, add me as a friend, first of all, and I'll make you an administrator. And I want us to create this as a space for anyone to, I just created this group. I just did that. So I don't know what kind of images, what kind of graphics and stuff to do over here, but I'd like for that to be a space for anyone who is holding meetings, organizing anything, to be able to publish, because that's the cool thing about Facebook. I've been promoting my meetings by actually going into all these different Facebook groups and creating events inside of those groups for my meetings. And so I intend to do that here, but I also would like to, I mean, I would prefer that Jamin actually did it because he could represent it much better, or Nolan, or we could all kind of tailor that, but like create a block party event in there and bring in all these other creators of, you know, people who are organizing anything that's public and free to attend, so that anyone can, you know, create these events, and we can invite, and especially if this group is the core administrator group, we'll be able to, well, let's just say promote the block party and our own initiatives a little bit more, you know, just give us an extra push. But who knows, maybe we'll fail or not, but I didn't see anything, I didn't see anything like that on Facebook. There is something else, but they look very private. And I think we're trying to create, you know, like, that's why I call it Collective Intelligence Public Forum. First of all, it starts with Zoom, so that anybody who's actually looking for anything Zoom, like, that will come up right away. I think like that will be a useful search tool. But then, so Zoom, Collective Intelligence Public Forum, so that people know that it's public, you know, so that they're welcome to create their stuff in there. And yeah, I don't know what images, what graphics to use. So, you know, so that could be something that we decide as a group, or maybe if somebody has some ideas, just go ahead and post an image up in there and start creating events and inviting people. And yeah, like I said, add me as a friend, so I'll make you an admin for that group.
Awesome, Cesare. Thank you so much. That is super cool. And that is, you know, yet a new form of connective tissue. I think Dylan Howard was going to create a Facebook page for collective intelligence, collective superintelligence. And I think this is awesome. You doing that and Dylan doing what he's doing. This is all forming this, you know, connective tissue of a decentralized network of all these different conversations. And then I think at some point we will have the Google of conversations to be able to search through them, and the Facebook of these Zoom conversations to be able to, you know, have a social network backbone supporting it, as well as a directory of conversations, what we've envisioned for Snack Bar, the social network of actual conversations. That's really a directory and a social network in one. But these are all different forms that we're playing with to provide the connective tissue, connecting all the different conversations that are out there. Conversations that we know that are happening, probably by the hundreds of thousands, maybe tens of thousands. I don't know. I mean, depending on the nature of the conversation. Conversations which are, you know, either about collective intelligence or planetary overheating and how we can stop it, or using our collective intelligence to stop coronavirus, or using our collective intelligence to holistically and simultaneously solve, a loaded word to the extent we can solve, all of our problems holistically and simultaneously, right? Those conversations are the ones that I'm most interested in finding and connecting with, right? And right now it just seems like an inevitability, right? You know, like the inevitability that, for example, information wants to be free. That's an inevitability. It's also an inevitability that these radical transformational conversations want to be connected. Y'all with me? We want to be connected. We want to be connected. Let's be like the 10-year-olds in the, you know, in the cafeteria, all pounding on the tables. We want to be connected. Tools are emerging, the conversations are emerging organically, the connections are happening organically, intentionally, serendipitously, word of mouth, word of social media, right? It's just happening, and it's inevitable at this point, and it's so exciting, and it feels like we're right on the cutting edge of it, as I'm sure there are a bunch of other groups, and I can't wait till we all just get connected and frickin' throw a big block party together. Oh, wait a second. We've already got a big block party, so everybody come to the frickin' block party.
Hey, you know what though? What Cesare just did though is a way to open up to. I really love what he just did it with the Facebook. I'm already joined in. I just went and did it while you guys were talking. But that's where basically what he's saying is it's a forum for everybody's meetings, and we can start. That can become that to me seems like a real practical, down to earth first step to start to do all this. We're talking about starting to link up all these different conversations using what platforms we have right now. I think it's brilliant. Kudos, Cesare. I think that's absolutely nailed it, you know? So I gotta say, that's just cool.
Well, Cesare is by nature a leader, a pioneer, a gigantic thinker, and I could go on and on. But anyway, so.
He also knows how to get stuff done, so I like that too.
Totally. And then think of all of us together as a collective, what we can do together, right? Because for all of his talents, there are things that Cesare does not know how to do well or hasn't learned to do well yet. And, so it's, front of the room, back of the room. It's the Harlem Globetrotters. It's all these analogies for us just working together, passing it around.
Yeah, we're a group of superstars. We're all leaders. So that's the interesting miracle that we're going to make this work as a collective with a bunch of leaders, because in the past that wouldn't be possible. But it seems like it's starting to happen.
Yeah, beautiful. Maida is asking to be added to the group. All right. Is anyone waiting to speak at this point?
Cesare, what is your Facebook page again, please?
I'm gonna type it here.
Also just sent a link to the page, to the group.
Now, I think what's really cool, because like a lot of these groups because what's really interesting, am I on mute? What's fascinating, what's infuriating, but it's also fascinating about a lot of these different groups is how they're trying to be free speech, but they don't really have free speech. And their methods of eliminating members are like so, what's the word? Well, let's just say it's not very democratic, and I don't think it's always fair. And I think what's cool, if all of us are the administrators and moderators of this, then, by having like this forum where people can speak, we'll be able to more, if honestly, I hope we don't have to have any rules for like banning people. Like as long as people just are basically decent. Maybe even there won't be that many heated debates. Maybe the debates will happen within the video discussions, which would actually be even better. And then the group will be just for sharing information. But the point is that we can have like this democratic protocol where like just like if let's say you stepped out of line or whatever, somebody is reporting you, then we can hash this out during like one of these meetings. Then we can just connect with this person, almost hold like a collective trial and like be like, yeah, okay, what really happened? Why did you say that? And I think the fact that there's this whole recourse where people connect face to face, then they're going to be like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that. And maybe I shouldn't have been a jerk to this person now that I can see them face to face. So that might actually really help. Yeah. Help with how people treat one another, that they can always come to this meeting and report,
I love it, Cesare, and I love that we're talking about the interplay between these different media, right? Facebook and Zoom, and I call it the vegan milk, vegan Oreo duality, right? Dialectic. But now let's add, you know, a banana to the mix on the table. Imagine having a golden triangle between Facebook. Thank you, Evan. Between Facebook and Zoom, and the third could be Reddit, right? In other words, just like, hey, if you really want to express yourself and have the debate, freaking get on Zoom and have the debate and record it, and then paste the link here, and if you come to some synthesis, which I really want to talk about in depth a bit more, coming to synthesis and then maybe even packaging that synthesis in a really tight meme that can then go viral. How cool is that? Because what's really exciting in these cases of debate is not watching one person getting, you know, dominated by another, or getting flustered and not being effective in debate. It's not about the debate. Let it be about the synthesis. Let it be about, you know, an emerging consensus, because we're all logical here, right? Cesare and I may disagree on something today. We may get together and talk about it, and we may end up being two peas in a pod, both singing the praises of a new synthesis, right? Because in the end, what do we want? We want life, we want happiness, we want freedom, we want joy, we want connection, we want nothing but good things, we want none of the bad things, right? You know, unless you're like Charles Manson or Ted Bundy or somebody like that, right? Let's just get together and hash it out. So just like we can have Zoom be for that kind of outlet for, you know, not outlet, but, you know, medium for all this kind of rich stuff that we're doing right here and now. Likewise, Reddit could be the outlet for really going deep into the far-reaching tentacles of a taxonomy, right, on a topic, which is something Reddit is really great at and Facebook is not so great at, right, other than pointing to the conversations, right? So Facebook could be the social network and the place that points to all these other resources, all these different other slices at the conversations, right? Pointers to the taxonomy of topics itself and the taxonomy of conversations itself, right? You get what I'm saying. I'm going to go on mute and let others add to it.
I just wanted to pick up the thread of what you were saying there, Jamin, that really makes so much sense in starting to apply what I consider collective intelligence, accelerated collective evolution, is taking and condensing the best of everything we do and making that a node of a future conversation. And then over here, we have a whole nother set of conversations. We take the synthesis of that. And then out of those syntheses, we create a synthesis. That's how we have to do it. I mean, that's how we have to make this. That's exactly right in terms of details, how we actually have to make these conversations accelerate. I mean, that's just brilliant. I mean, that's a whole nother facet. And so Reddit, I'm not familiar with Reddit, so maybe at some point you could give a little lowdown on that. But, and taxonomies, it sounds really interesting. Trees of information, I love it. Upside down tree, or roots, however you want to call it. I mean, I understand the word taxonomy. So maybe you could put, you know, kind of elaborate a little.
Yeah, so Reddit is basically the concept of taxonomy, but applied in the topic space. So let's say you take the topic of solar radiation management. And so Reddit is a discussion forum, right? It's a text-based discussion forum. Somebody comments something, 5 hours later, somebody comments something else, et cetera. Except, have you ever seen those discussion forums that can then branch and then you can go off on a tangent? Reddit just takes that to the nth degree, right? And that's what Reddit is super good at. And so you love it. Reddit, it just nailed it, right? So Reddit nailed that. Facebook nailed, you know, traditional social network. I think we're going to come up with something way more radical with the social network of actual conversations, or snack bar. And we can all get together and co-create that as, you know, the next Facebook, basically, but centered around actual conversations, not them milking and manipulating and screwing with your data and what you can and can't see so that they maximize shareholder profit. You know, give me I mean, you know, I think Cesare would agree with me. Hey, Facebook, if you want to go do that, go for it, right? Be all that you can be within that model. But what I'm suggesting is we can create a totally new and different model, which is totally open, unmessable with, right? Totally transparent, open source with all kinds of amazing standards. Anyway, that's what Snack Bar is. Let's take that on as an open source project, right? Centered around this meeting, actually. The Solution Club is the best place to discuss that. But anyway, all I'm doing is just pointing to that all these different media you know, even Facebook and Snack Bar, let them coexist, right? Facebook, why get rid of Facebook? Goodness, they're providing a very, you know, valuable public service. Now, the day may come when, as we, to borrow Dharmendra's term, accelerated collective evolution, right? You know, the sister meme along with collective superintelligence, really it's all part of the same whole, right? Which is our accelerated evolution, collective evolution, and collective superintelligence. So exciting. I'm going to pass the ball and go on mute, and just feel free to grab it or say something, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like, just, this is collective intelligence. I just love it. Going on mute. All right, I don't think anyone's in the queue at the moment, so if you have a thought or inspiration, feel free to jump in. And let me make another parenthetical thought before I go on mute again, which is really that speaking of media, right, and different parallel media, Facebook, Reddit, Zoom, etc., consider the medium of Dharmendra's Vegan Synergy Meditation, which happens every Thursday at 5:30 p.m. Arizona time and Pacific Daylight Time, which is what it is currently. Anyway, and that medium being part of the constellation, all these different media. And guess what? You don't have to master each and every one of these media to be a player. Just play in whatever media you like, whatever you're comfortable with. If you're comfortable hanging out in Facebook land, hang out in Facebook land. You know, we'd love to see you on Cesari's Facebook page, and we'd love to see you exploring other media, but that's up to you at your own pace, right? Looks like Dharmendra has a quick comment. Cesari has a hand raised.
Just a quick comment, yeah. It just really digging this conversation where it's going. And based on what you were just saying, I'm thinking this particular thing we're doing here, to me, it's like, it seems like it's our diamond that we're polishing, you know, and we can draw things out. Like, for instance, you mentioned Vegan Synergy Meditation. Well, there's something in there that's very useful, which is the shadow gift siddha work. And there's going to be more levels later as we go on, but that's the basis. So when people do have these heated debates, and then as Cesari says, and they show up here and they come face to face, and now all of a sudden there's a whole different thing. Maybe those people can back off their points and expose their shadow that was firing them to be so heated in that debate, and kind of a lot of emotional stuff feeding into what their idea was, as that was really kind of defeating maybe the point of their conversation. So I see that we can draw from all these different fields, you know, like what Cesari does, what you do, what I do, what other people do, and take the best of that and bring it here, so that we have every tool at our disposal to make this our refining ground of communication, of interaction, the way we're doing it, right? That's enough said. That I just wanted to get that, because I think that's what we're doing here. And it just seems incredible that we can take the best of the best and bring it here. So we have just an incredibly refined, you know, high society. I don't know how else to say it, but in a really good way, not an egotistical status quo sort of way, but just in a brilliant, everybody's brilliance is inspired here. You know?
Well, yeah, this is the ultimate collective intelligence cauldron. The cauldron mentioned by Nick Bostrom in his book, Superintelligence, which is promoted by Bill Gates. Or
it's also the 50th gene key. It's ultimately about harmony, but that's the original I Ching version of the 50th hexagram is the cauldron. It's the collective pool of the best of the best.
Wow.
You got it.
Beautiful.
That's it.
All righty. Cesari, thank you for your patience. You've had your hand up. Go for it, Cesari.
Okay, so yeah, I'm thinking about how to set up this group, and I'm thinking that this is, I'd like for this to be something that pretty much we can take our own initiative. Like if we see some area lacking, then somebody can add to that. But of course, if somebody does something and then somebody decides to change it, well, then we might have a conflict, and then we should hash that out in a group discussion about what the optimal thing is. But one of these things, because I was just thinking, I started wanting to just started to start to invite people to this group. But then I'm like, wait a minute, you know, at this point, I don't think this is ready to invite people. I think like I want, first of all, I wanted to have, well, it says personalized group right at the top where you're supposed to put in your group photo. And so that's one thing. But I also want us to start populating this with a little bit of events so people see that it's not completely empty, so that they're there for a reason. They don't go in and, you know, don't come back or something. But the group photo is an essential thing. And what I wanted to suggest for that group, that it's not a graphic, that it's actually lays out the most basic rules of what this is about. Just, you know, put in an image. Obviously it has to be an image, but that it would be of kind of like the basic concepts, because I don't know how many people really go to read group rules in any Facebook group. I mean, I don't really do it unless somebody tells me, hey, you're breaking this rule, go check the rules. And I'm like, okay, let's see what the rule is. And I try to argue with the administrator or the moderator, and then they just throw me out anyways, because I tell them. But anyways, that's usually how it goes for me. But so I want this to be as simple as possible, because most of that action should be happening in Zoom anyways. You know, it should be, especially, so like as far as group rules, I think we should, and maybe this is something we could decide right now, but I was thinking the group rules should just be like, don't be an asshole. Like, I think that should be the only group. But I don't know. You guys, what do you think?
Well, first of all, there's a really brilliant book. I don't know about brilliant, maybe taking it a bit far, but a really solid, good business book that belongs on on everyone's shelf. And it's written by a professor at Stanford, a professor of business. And the book is literally called The No Asshole Rule. I kid you not, the No Asshole Rule. And what this professor is proposing is that all organizations adopt exactly that rule. Don't be an asshole. And then, of course, you know, we can be specific about that. But in fact, I would actually propose two things. Number one, that we actually have that conversation about what we mean by that right here. We can probably do it in 5 minutes or less and do a good job of it, right? Of course, you know, we could spend also a week on it and do an even better job. But I think we'd hit diminishing returns probably around the 5 minute mark, because it's something that we'd want to more try by, you know, by case, what do you call it in law? Case, yeah, there you go. Thank you, Cesare. Case precedent and all that, you know, pardon me?
Case study or?
No, it's like the body of case law. I think it's simply called case law, or, you know, it's the body of all the trials and all the documentation. It's what the heck happened, right? Well, when the judge ruled here, because when they had to rule there, they took either the elements of the crime or the elements of the civil whatever tort, and, you know, hashed out fundamentally a new pattern, right? And so then later cases should simply apply the same pattern. Why reinvent the cookie cutter, right? When you got a perfectly good one right there. So it's case law. So anyway, basically, we'll work it out in practice. We'll set the general tone. But the second point I wanted to make is that even before we have that 5 minute conversation on the definition of an asshole, right, and what not to be, is we have an even broader, more fundamental conversation about what do we want the group to be, right? What do we want it to be fundamentally, right?
Well, that actually, so that's two things. And that brings me, you know, to the way I named it. And I named it because that's the way I saw it. And that's how I wanted to put my initial expression out there. But even the name, of course, is up for debate. You know, maybe it should be called Zoom Collective Superintelligence Public Forum. But there's a reason why I didn't do that. And I think because I didn't want it to sound too foreign and too pretentious to a lot of people. I was worried that maybe it would be a little bit, yeah, it would throw some people off. Because collective intelligence is a little bit, part of that super intelligence is a part that we're not calling it super intelligence, that we're just, hey, let's just keep it chill. Let people find out how super this is for themselves, you know?
Exactly. That's why Levi's jeans are not called the super Levi's jeans. They're just called Levi's jeans, and then people discover that. Okay, back to you.
And so, yeah, and public forum, because I thought that would just clarify it. But yeah, even that name could and maybe should be, well, it should be discussed. Yeah, it should be discussed. So whether it's just stays the same or not. But then the other thing about the group image, it's like I said, I don't think it should be a graphic. I mean, we could try to, actually, I thought it would be cool to put the block party thing. But there is a reason why I didn't do that. I thought it would be cooler, like if we keep this a little bit more abstract, more public forum. But then I'd like the people who are in that group, whether that's 100 people or 10,000 people in that group, that they know that the cool thing that's happening in this, in this public forum is the block party. And so that's like one of the things that we would promote more centrally, that's where the administrators of the group are hanging out. That's where the connections are made at the block party. But yeah, so I was thinking that the image should be the block party, but now I'm thinking, I think the rules of the group just be like, hey, we're just sharing our events. And so I was thinking about like basically writing a short paragraph, not even a short paragraph, like a couple sentences or just like a couple bullet points about what you should expect to get out of the group. What do you think about that? I don't know if you were raising your hand, Jamin, or what, but.
Oh yeah, I'm raising my hand because I've got an ooh. And
okay.
Fred and Darmendra and Melissa will know what I'm saying when I say a horse, and Emery, a horse shack ooh. But it's a horse shack ooh. It's like when I'm really excited to say something that's coming to me. So I hear you talking about its rules, its name, its group photo, its relationship to block party, and what I'd really like to gently encourage us to do is to first have the conversation. What is it? What is it fundamentally? And I appreciate that you're totally a man of action, Cesare, and you're out there and starting to get stuff done. But I'm suggesting to you that we take a step back from the action for the moment and the building and the figuring out of these pieces to just having a big, super high level conversation. What is it? And especially, what is it in relation to Zoom? So for example, if Zoom is the place where we really hash stuff out, because I mean, here's where we do it, just right there in the moment, back and forth, immediate feedback. So, okay, so if Facebook is not there for that, then what is it? And what is it for, right? Well, is it to go deep on certain topics? No, Reddit's for that. So maybe it's just the ultimate pointer place, the ultimate index. And sure, if you have questions, if you're new to the group or whatever, feel free to check in. There's a chat, but that's just kind of a chatter. That's way up in the bleachers kind of chatter, right? The real action, to quote President Vicente Fox in that video I was sharing the other day of the press conference we did together, to play the real game, right? And the action in the arena. He was just like really framing it well. So, we can specify, listen, here's where we take these different actions. And yeah, welcome to the bleachers. If you got a question, ask, the guy with the pot belly, that would be me, eating peanuts sitting right next to you. Hey, anyway, that's just a place for that. So beyond that, beyond being the bleachers, it could be the index. Anyway, I'm just saying, let's have that conversation now, if you're willing to go there. Is everyone feeling it, or am I just like way off in left field, speaking of baseball analogies?
Oh, I think you're nailing it.
Okay, thanks, Armando.
Yeah, and I'll just throw in, it's a first thought in that direction about what is this really? I like the word real. I think it's about real people connecting to start with. And that doesn't have to be the name of it, but I think that's what it's about. People getting real and real people connecting. And figuring what this life is about, what we're all doing here together.
Totally. Love it. Freaking awesome. Oh my goodness, my mind is just awash in possibilities, but really appreciate the feedback there, Darmendra. So let's talk more about, what it is. Go ahead, Fred.
I got to run. I really thought this was especially good meet today. And Darmendra, how do I access the 5:30 Thursday meeting? Is there a...
Give me 1 second. I will put it in the chat, the link. It's always the same every week. It's the same link every week. I'll just put it in the chat as quick as I can. I'll go online and find it in Basecamp. I'll get it. It'll take me 2 minutes.
Very good. See you guys.
I muted Darmendra. Darmendra didn't realize his microphone was unmuted. Fred, great to see you, brother. Love you. Thank you so much for being here. And come back anytime. Literally, we might be going until 7 p.m. So,
Right. Well, I'll be at the block party.
all right. Well, we'd love to see you whenever. So feel free to pop in and out. No problemo. Great
All
to
right,
see you,
bye,
Fred.
everyone.
Yeah. And so, back to the it, I just looked at the name that Emery gave his blessing to, which I agree with, is that it's a great name for now. And there's so much in a name, and Cesare, brilliant of you to start it with Zoom, right? Because it says, hey, this is about getting together and having actual conversations, right? On Zoom. I mean, you can't be more clear and explicit than that. And so this becomes essentially almost like a bulletin board. Again, another part of it is a bulletin board letting people know what's going on in the Zoomosphere of collective intelligence, right? The conceptualization, design, and building of collective intelligence, the application of collective intelligence to specific problems and realms, coronavirus, planetary overheating, SRM, you name it, right? So, freaking brilliant.
Damon, that was one of the memes we came up with last night.
Which was that, sweetheart?
The one on Zoom. We came up with one of the memes that said, let's get together on Zoom. I gotta look it up.
Oh yeah, no, it went like this. We can do this. We can do this. Let's meet up on Zoom, right?
That's it. Yeah.
We can do
that's
this.
it.
Let's meet up on Zoom. And what's inspiring me also is we take this recording and put time-stamped pointers to specific moments in this recording as hyperlinks to say, hey, here's where we had a 20-minute conversation birthing this very Facebook group, right? You want to hear the whole thing? Here it is. Here's where we talk about rules. Here's where we talk about assholes, right? Here's where we talk about relationship to other media. Here's where we talk about what it is fundamentally, et cetera, right? And let's coin the Zoomosphere, right? Welcome to the Zoomosphere, as Emery wrote. Emery's an artist. He does stained glass. He does word art. I think he got to be so good at word art because when you put words into stained glass, it's kind of hard to go back into the MacBook Pro and edit the words later. It's a lot of work, actually, last time I checked. Anyway, maybe that's why he's so good at word art. So, freaking, we're on fire. We are on fire here. All right, I'm going to go on mute.
So what I want to, I'm thinking, man, I really want to start populating this with content. And I just want you all to know I'm doing this for completely selfish reasons. Because I tried to invite people to my group, and how difficult it is to get people to, like somebody who seems to be interested in reforming democracy. I'm like, hey, well, let's set up a call. Let's talk about this on video. I mean, how hard would that be? Let's just talk face to face for a few minutes, get a feel for each other, and But for people, there's like this huge mental barrier with that for some reason. Well, I mean, there are reasons. I can see why that is, but it's actually, when you think about it, it's kind of irrational. But so I'm trying to invite people into my group to participate in our video calls. But still, and it's so much easier to do that on Zoom now, because before, when I was organizing physical meetings, to get someone to come to our meetings, they would anticipate probably like 3 hours, 1 hour to come, and then to at least 1 hour to spend at the physical meeting, maybe an hour commute there, maybe an hour-long commute back there. So it's asking for people asking a lot from people to come to that meeting when they actually still don't know what the value is, when they're told that, oh, I'm a terrible salesperson. So that's another thing. But so it's difficult, but with Zoom it's easier, but it's still not that easy to get people to come to our political discussion, you know, even on Zoom. Well, it's easier, but it's still not that easy. But what I'm thinking is, if there is like, you know, what I really want to do is, I can't wait, rather than promoting my group, I can't wait to start promoting the Zoom public forum, so that people like already come in the mindset, yeah, I'm going into this because I intend to come to some meetings, and like, yeah, sure, I might not like this one, but then there are options of other things. So if you, I think you can make that easier to bring people to your own event by getting them to first get over that hurdle that, hey, yeah, I'm going to sign up for Zoom, and I'm going to, you know, I'm going to go to this some meeting before they make a decision. And then when they're in the group, they're like, oh, okay, well, this kind of sounds interesting. All right, I'm here anyways. I'm here for Zoom conversation, so I might as well just click on it at that time. And so that's what I want to, for me, I expect that to be a lot easier for me. But, and I'll admit that, like Dharmendra's thing that he does, I'm not into it. Like that is not my thing. But yeah, it's just like, to me, that's just, I don't want to say anymore, but it's not my thing. But at the same time, I see that it really works for some people. Like some people get real value for that. And it's, you know, it's going to be so much better when more people are able to benefit from that. So I can't wait till, yeah, till we all make our own shows, you know, like, you know, let's do our own. I can't wait to do it. So we see each person doing their thing, or organizing their event, and contribute, you know. So yeah, yeah, it's I mean, because, you know, I gotta say, at the same time, I kind of really love the party format of the block party. So when Dharmendra does this thing for like an hour or two, I'm like, oh, great, all right, I'll show up later. But but I'd love for him to do his own thing so that he can have his own following. And I following, I mean that in the best possible sense, you know, his own group where he can come to the party and be like, hey, I'm doing this, and find his people, and then go, you know, contribute the value to the people that need it the most. So yeah, I'm really excited about that, because it's going to help me. Yeah, it's just.
Well, if you'll permit me to interject, Cesare, amen, hallelujah to everything you've said. It's totally brilliant what you're doing. One of the important, not laws, but kind of like derivatives of the core laws of marketing, is that if you are the leader of an emerging category, you don't promote your own brand. You promote the category. You promote the whole category, and that in turn reinforces your leadership, right? So in 1952, when IBM held a conference on mainframe computers, or computers, period, right? And they invited everybody else to come, of course. Well, who organized the conference, you know? If somebody invites me to a party, my first question is, whose house, whose party, right? Who are they? Do I know, you know, who are they? Do I know them? Do I not, you know, who are they? So you're absolutely doing the right thing. And I'm a student of the laws of marketing. And also, you know, to put it in kind of more, you know, tangible terms, I don't know the place in New York City, but I know there's a place in New York City, maybe Jackie can help me out or not, but where like all the specialty electronic shops are concentrated on like one street for obvious reasons. You go there, you got electronics? Yeah, I want to create a surveillance system in my backyard, da-da-da-da, and I want this kind of sensors. Okay, for the sensors, go down to Harry. He's down the next block down there. And then come back up here and we'll get you all set up with the wiring and the, you know, the cameras and all that. You know, that's it. So we're creating that electronics alley, right, of radically transformational Zoom video conferences. And that gets to another part of the it. Okay, we've talked media, that's great, but this could have all been about crocheting, right? What's the topic space? How do we bound that, or do we bound it? Maybe we don't even bound it. Why bound it? The moment you start bounding stuff, no, we don't want to talk about permaculture. That's not, core priority. Well, how the hell do you know? Maybe it is core because it feeds people, keeps them at home, quarantines them, and, stops the coronavirus. So I think it's premature to bound it. Having said that, this is kind of a multi-center universe. One of the centers in my mind is radical transformation, saving life on Earth, collective intelligence, etc., and hearing from brilliant people like Dharmendra. Go for it, Dharmendra.
Yeah, Cesare, thank you for your honesty. I really, you correct me. I really like you though. So I mean, we're definitely on different tracks. But so this is what I got from that. It really, that was the first time somebody ever did that to me, and I felt honored rather than like it was any kind of put down. I felt like that was really cool. So thank you. That was really a new experience for me, for somebody to say, I don't really like what you do, but behind it, I really enjoy you. So that's kind of what I got out of that. So, and I feel the same with you, which is even funnier. But because you're a challenge, and I like that. I don't get too many of those. And but anyway, what I thought was that's really cool is that here somehow we all come together and we sort of transcend our differences. So Jamin was talking a little while ago about what is this? What is it? Well, I see one of the qualities that we all share here, even though we're out doing our different things, wherever we're doing them, is that when we come here, we transcend all that and we all just connect as a collective intelligence in a really cool way. And I really dig that we all come here and I love everybody here. I mean, there's just no question about it. I've loved connecting with everybody here, and it's a gas. But then when I go off and do my thing, obviously not everybody wants to go, into what I do, because it's kind of, Twilight Zone and that kind of stuff. But funny enough, it changes people's lives in really radical ways, but in a very indirect way. It's not by working with things directly. It's by going around the backside and sneaking in the back door. But that's not the point. It's not about tooting my own horn. I just really like it. Just what Cesare said just made me get something about this. The beauty of this group is that we all come together and we're all just dancing together and having much fun, and we inspire each other, and then we go out and do our things, and we can find ways to start to put it like what Cesare came up with today, the Facebook Collective Intelligence Directory, basically is what it is. Zoom directory, I mean, Facebook Collective Intelligence Zoom directory. So I think it's just really cool. So that's one aspect of this meeting that just seems so unique. I don't even know what kind of a word I would use for that, where we all come together, transcend our differences, and just mix it up, and everybody gets enriched. And then I get tons of juice from doing this every week. And then I go, when I do my meetings and everything else, and so many things from this can go into that, in the way I do it. And I'm sure everybody else does similar things. And so there's a magicalness going on here in terms of our interconnectedness that is just, to me, that's really the cutting edge we're bringing right now to this planet. I just can't imagine anybody doing it quite like this, because we're totally open. There's no like, we got to do it this way, or it's this format, or we're sticking it through this filter, or through this medium, or through this industry, or, it's just totally open. That to me is like, that's ballsy. That's really cool. That just takes it right out of the park. And we're doing it, and somehow, I don't know how we're doing it, but we're just all tuned in to whatever it is that's evolving through humanity and life and everything, and we're riding that wave. So it's really cool. That's what I got to say.
You could call it Zoomergy. Now, people might pronounce it differently. I don't want to go there, but Zoomergy.
How about Zoomergence?
Zoomergence, yes, very related to Zoomergy. Anyway, got a couple people with their hands raised. We got James in Cork, Ireland, followed by Cesare in, I forgot how to pronounce it, Poland. Go for it, James.
Yeah, cheers. Thanks, Chairman. Yeah, you could call it Zoom honesty as well, I suppose. But yeah, I'd also agree with Dharmendra there, and like thanking Cesare there for commending him for his honesty. But I'd also like to commend him for containing it as well. This time, like, it's good to be honest, but it's also we're all always going to come across people on this platform that, like, we can't all agree exactly with everybody on different aspects of what we're all talking about, or belief systems or whatever. So, but we still respect each other. So that's the main thing. it's good to acknowledge it and be honest about what you think of it, but at the same time to respect that it is a good thing. Like, so I just think that was a good thing from Cesare as well there. Like. But it just goes to show the beauty of this platform, as Dharmendra was just saying there. The magic is happening on this platform. So yeah, what I see, I think Cesare just answered your question. What is it? A while ago there, no, Jamin, with his last statement by saying like what he's proposing with the Facebook, what it is really is like a platform for advertising this platform and his own platform, and basically like a community platform then for all those who do come here and, you know, get together. So I think that's what it is like. So I think it's a good thing in it as well, because everything helps get people to this platform and to Cesare's. And in saying that, Cesare, I apologize for not attending the meeting on Sunday night. I had all intentions of doing so. I stayed awake all day Saturday after these meetings, and I was awake up late into the night. And by the time by 9 o'clock, I think Sunday night, I fell asleep some stage anyway. So I slept past the meeting time. So I apologize for that. I will make the next one. And I will get around to, you know, filling out the Agora. So yeah, just saying that. I think Stephanie could also maybe throw in her video that she shared there earlier on there tonight as maybe an advertising thing on the Facebook platform as well.
Well, just real quick, if y'all want to know when the next meeting is going to be, you're going to find it right in that group.
Yep, and that's a key function of it. And we got 2 people in the queue right now to speak. Cesare followed by Melissa, and I'm going to pause recording long enough to say, okay, Cesare is next in the queue, followed by Melissa. Go ahead, Cesare.
But I just want to give you all a heads up. You know, I do see this as nothing but a stepping stone. I think this is going to be really interesting to see how this group develops, how it evolves, how many content creators we have, if it gets to be like thousands of people, or if it's just, you know, just a small network. You know, it will be an interesting experience no matter what. I think if we all actually pitch in and promoting it, then, I mean, I intend to promote the hell out of it. So, but at the same time, this is a stepping stone, but this might give us resources and connections, like especially if it grows, if it does grow to be like tens of thousands of people, this might give us resources to actually build a more dedicated platform. And the other aspect of that is that I totally want to put Facebook out of business. Like, and Agora, originally I thought that it would be a replacement for Facebook, but it's not. It shouldn't be. It could be, but I mean, right now it can't be, but in the future potentially it could be, but it's better if it's not. And so what I envision is when Agora does become bigger, well, the biggest platform in the world, eventually we will probably have other people who are working closely with us, members of the party, who will develop some kind of their own social networking platform, and we will promote the alternative platform. Well, we will have that sway at that point. I mean, if we're controlling the world governments, we're definitely going to be able to replace the social network. But yeah, but basically just move the people from one to the other. Just to fucking fuck this company up, man. I'm so fucking tired of, I mean, no, but their restrictions and yeah, I can't wait, and their manipulations. So I can't wait to finish them off. So, well, I mean, whatever. We can do better. We can do so much better. So yeah, it's you know, as we're making this group better, I think it's going to be a cool learning experience for what kind of lessons we can draw of what kind of a more specialized networking platform we can ultimately replace that group with. So that will be cool. That will be also really interesting to develop that.
Isn't that the idea, Jamin, of all this?
I was about to say, I can't help but interject that I love how Cesare articulated the trajectory of all this, but Cesare said, maybe we'll get into the thousands or tens of thousands. I think it's inevitable that we'll get deep into the millions in very short order. Why? This coronavirus is kicking our butts. We're all under house arrest. The economy is collapsing, right? The planet's overheating. We're losing global dimming. It sounds like a rap song. And it's just like all these things piled on top of each other. How much more are people going to take before they finally get off of watching, whatever goofball Comedy Central or whatever the hell? I mean, I'm just using it as an analogy. The only game in town is radical global transformation to save life on Earth. That's it. There simply is no other game in town at this point in our lives. Period. No exception. Melissa, you've been waiting to speak for a while. Thank you for your patience. Cesare also has his hand up. And Emery says we need a rap song. I'm all for it. Let's work on that. And Melissa, oh yeah, go ahead, Cesare. Yeah.
Just real quick, but the thing is that we might be in a game that it's really a matter of days, because I did a real quick search and it didn't seem like there was anything like it, or it wasn't very active, and I don't know why, or maybe it's because it was private as opposed to public, but there are probably going to be other people coming up with something like this. So I think we need to get a move on it, actually start creating.
I'm all for it. I'm all for it, because listen to this, Cesare. Here's what can happen, and here's what I think really needs to happen, is this: that as we promote this in the coming days, this Friday we got a badass block party coming up. It's the 8th consecutive 24-hour block party. It's time to blow the roof off. What I think can happen is people will start coming to the block party. They'll say, "Holy shit, this is the coolest meeting on earth." They'll get on the phone. They'll text their friends. They'll get on Facebook. They'll blast out Cesare's new Facebook group and say, "Everybody, get your ass onto the block party now." And when we start getting overloaded and we pass the 500, we get to the 500 ceiling. That's when we start branching out. Hey, who wants to have a parallel meeting, right? Cesare, you want to talk about how great capitalism is, just to use an example, and we're kind of getting sick of that here in this big central, this is like the, what do they call it at big conferences? This is the general, the general meeting, right? Hey, this is the general meeting. This is to welcome newcomers. This is to, beat our drum. This is to go through the rules. This is to, these basic stuff. So if you want to have a focused conversation, whether it's on permaculture, capitalism, or Buddhism, please go do it. Create your Zoom video conference. Make sure we have the link, so we can update the Google Doc or the WordPress page or whatever, or the Facebook page itself. Hey, here's all the meetings that are active. You create a new Zoom, post it on Facebook, post it on Cesare's Zoom Collective Intelligence Public Forum page, right? And that's the menu. And so then we'll just start popping out new rooms, new breakout rooms, both metaphorically and actually using the breakout room feature that we've got right here native to Zoom, and et cetera. So whether it's using the breakout feature or whether it's, Dharmendra just going off and creating his own Zoom meeting and calling it, impromptu meditation for those who need it, let's take a meditation retreat. This conversation's getting too intense, whatever, right? Anyway, Melissa, you've been waiting patiently to speak. Go for it, sweetheart.
Yeah, this is a suggestion, Cesare. I think it would help to set the intention. What are you intending with your Facebook site? I think that the broader you make it in terms of topics that are discussed, the more successful it will become. And also would highly recommend that you come to one of Dharmendra's vegan synergy meditations, because the power of manifestation is amped up and multiplied by working as a collective in a higher space, i.e., a spiritual space, And so instead of you fighting and trying to make it happen, you get into a different zone where manifestation is the result of that being together as one mind made of many minds. It's like, you know, many make a bigger battery, right? More juice. So I would suggest that you come this Thursday. It's a lot of fun. Come and swim with us, and we'll help amp you up, man. You know, and make this manifest. So you're not having to do it all by yourself. Over and out.
Am I the only one not getting that clearly? Not here?
No. She's garbled for all of us. It's a bandwidth issue or something like that. We got the gist of what you said, sweetheart. We heard it pretty well. Actually, it's just that it was kind of a little bit, you know, garbled and distorted, but that's all right. Anyway, just to be mindful. And sweetheart, again, I want to emphasize, please dial in by phone. I'm going to go ahead and send you that information via email right now. I'm sending it to you right now.
And in this moment, while he's sending that, I'll just tune in. And I think if I catch what she was trying to say, which I try to say a lot of times, is that one of the best ways to create something in terms of manifesting in your life is by basically going right into the issue that's stopping you from manifesting. That's pretty much where the meeting starts every time. What's your shadow? What's stopping you from doing what you love to do? Why aren't you doing it? Why ain't it happening the way you envision it right now? I mean, that's basically where we go every time to start. So the bottom line is what's happening here and what you see and what we're doing now was me and Jamin in a pizza shop having a pizza when we met 6 months ago when we came up with the idea. And I said, this is what I do. If you're open to this, I've helped some people. One of those guys is a multimillionaire now. And I didn't work with him on money or how to make money. And another guy travels lives all over the world and connects with people in all kinds of incredible ways. And those were two people I did it with to the degree I've done it with, shared it with Jamin with. And now a lot of other people. So the bottom line is the proof's in the pudding. If you look and you see what you like here, that was me and Jamin. It started a conversation about 6 months ago. And I said, let me just turn you on to what I do because it really works. And I believe what you got should be in the world and it should go big time. And so that's just, you know, if you don't like the methodology, but if you do it and try it and it works. And I'll tell you what, Cesare, if you do one of mine, I'll do one of yours. How about that?
Exactly the offer I make to other people. So, but no, and actually, it's no, well, I'm not saying I like everything that you do, but I do like some of the things that you do, and I like you. So I was gonna check it out at some point, anyways. Except maybe there was a time conflict, maybe. But yeah, it's no. Yeah, maybe I like some things, maybe I not, but
ditto for me with you. I mean, I've looked at some of your stuff and I really like some of it, and some of it is like, okay, whatever, but it would be worth looking into because maybe I'll learn something and maybe you'll learn something from doing what I do.
Yeah. I
have a feeling it'll make both of our things that much better because there's some tension there. And anytime you move through that and find a harmony, it usually is really cool.
Actually, yeah, I mean, I'm not saying I like everything that you do, but one of the other things was that it wasn't the time, I didn't have the mental space or mental disposition to, you know, to do what you do at the time when you were doing it as a part of the group. So, yeah. No, but we can, you and I definitely can do work together and, you know, share ideas and, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love Skyping with you the other day, just me and you on our own little private one. We will create our own language, you and I together, I can already tell. So yeah. For sure.
Creating whole new languages. I love it, right? These are yet other examples of this kind of, I was using it like a gymnastics analogy for it earlier, but you know, cross media. I love what Brett said about instead of software, thoughtware. You know, which is what we're creating right now. We are writing thoughtware with our conversation. Is anyone in the queue? Not that I can see. Yeah, go for it, Evan. Go for it.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that Cesare and Dharmendra, I just like watching two personalities coming together and then kind of like doing like a little dance that you otherwise wouldn't see in worlds where we only have conversations with people in our separate domains. And I feel like that's one of the really cool things about these conferences that I'm just looking forward to, is all these connections and these these meetings that we all get to experience, just like the entanglement of all these different energies and kind of watching how these languages and the different communication patterns emerge out of just all the unique people and different perspectives. Yeah, I don't know. I'm looking forward to that.
Well, I just want to add, I think it's because we actually do have a lot in common. I mean, we definitely do we specialize in different things, but the overall thing that we're, I think, pretty much all here to do is to really raise the level of consciousness. And I mean, I think we all like flat out have that in common. That's why, and we get that other people are doing that in their own ways. So, you know, that's the biggest thing. So.
So on that note, what is the it? I think Cesare kind of captured the core and essence of it right there. So now how do we give that an expression that's palatable and comprehensive enough for what we're doing? Because I think that's the essence of it right there. Because I didn't see anybody do anything but go, yep, that's true. That's what we're doing here. So we kind of slipped into it without really even trying intentionally. You know, in relation to something else, but we started that conversation and we really haven't ended it. We just, you know, and you said like 5 minutes, Jamin, which has been 30 seconds here, 15 seconds there, a minute and a half here over the last half hour. Maybe we're zeroing in on it now.
Well, here's what I'd like to propose, because here's the thing. Yes, we're long form, but even within the long form, we can do a concentrated burst. So what I would like to propose is that people talk for 10 seconds maximum at a time, and then release the microphone for the next person. And let's just do little meme bursts, little thought bursts as to what we think the it is. And another thing, silence is okay. But so let the only rule be that after you've said your 10-second burst, you have to be silent until someone else does a 10-second burst. And then you're welcome to jump in again. I think it'd be super fun. So I'm gonna go on mute, and whoever wants to burst first, burst out.
I was just wanted to say that's a collective superintelligence emerging, and I'm still exploring the differences between collective intelligence and collective superintelligence. Anyways, actually, I'm still exploring it, so that's all I'm going to say about that.
And don't wait to be called on. Just jump in and do your 10-second burst. That was mine.
Well, on that note, I'll just throw in that because again, I like the way Yuri structures his thinking. Because the way you Cesare, the way he says stuff is kind of the way my mind actually works. Kind of works the way he talks. Even though I express things more poetically or however it is, I don't know how I do it. I never listen to myself really. But what I want to say is that in harmony with what he said about still exploring both of them, I'm also seeing that. The collective intelligence, and then there's the collective superintelligence. We're experiencing collective intelligence and having moments of accelerated stuff and all these different things. So I'm kind of seeing that this thing I call accelerated collective evolution is the instrument, the tool, or the mechanism that's going to take us from collective intelligence and step us up into collective superintelligence. I don't see us yet. Sometimes we hit it, in our cities and and sometimes people just say really brilliant things, and we touch that collective superintelligence. And there's also going to be a technological side to it and everything. So oh, bless you. We're working that direction. But, bless you again. But I see the but I see collective intelligence as every single one of us is kind of tuned into that, because we're each doing our collectively intelligent thing, however we do it with other, and everybody's kind of expressed that. So I see this, we're accelerating into eventually becoming a collective superintelligence. So I see the one as a direction we're headed in, and the other as the reality each one of us are bringing here as a collective intelligence. That's just my scoop on that.
That was way over 10 seconds. But I just want to say, I do have to add, because like I've mentioned this before, Igora and the environment that it creates, I've been calling it super intelligence, because that's really like it's super intelligence when you experience it. And so coming from that perspective, coming into this community, trying to delineate this new kind of idea of collective superintelligence, I've been trying to compare how does my superintelligence fit into the collective intelligence and this emerging, this idea of this emerging collective superintelligence. And I think what's really interesting is that when we do actually start organizing these Zoom meetings, well, we are, through that group. And when we see, like, I don't know, 10, 50, maybe 100,000 different organizers organizing these meetings about these different things, we will see patterns repeating. When people are organizing meetings about this idea and this topic, we'll be able to sort that out. And that's actually very similar to how Igora works, which is what I call superintelligence, because we'll be able to see, well, not exactly maybe, but maybe, yeah, maybe when somebody does a search for a discussion on, I don't know, social inequality or something like that, or I don't know, something, they'll be able to see how many search results come up, and within the group, they'll be able to see this collective intelligence, but also at the super analytical level, see that it will almost be like a stock market index, that's what Igora is. It's a stock market of ideas. So when they do a search within our group of how many people are discussing certain things, it will be also showing, almost like Igora, it will showing that index of all the different meetings. So yeah, I think that is definitely a collective superintelligence emerging right there, as I would define it.
That was also more than 10 seconds.
I wasn't going for 10 seconds. I was just like, no, I gotta say this.
Well, I'll tell you what, let's loosen it up a bit, but let's just keep kind of a soft ceiling at, say, a minute, right? But the shorter the burst, the better, right? So, the part of the here, I'm going to stop the recording, and